start streaming.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to this week's episode of Common Sense, the podcast. Hope you guys have been doing well. It's been a good week. And now for the surprise guest. I mean, since Ryan's got the sniffles, because he's not sucking on the honey sticks like Biz over there.
These are not my honey sticks.
Oh, we'll get into that later. But you guys welcome Brandon Burnside to the episode. What's up, brother?
Hey, how are you?
Hey, let's pull that up close to get you kind of like where it is from
fist
me.
away from your face.
That way everybody can hear you. I know you like to be soft-spoken sometimes. So, welcome to the show, man.
How's it going?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well.
So, for those of you that don't know yet, because there's not been any real big events yet, so today we're going to talk a little bit about what I actually do for a living and what Brandon now does for a living as well, because Brandon is the newest sales guy at Element. And welcome to the team, my man.
Thank you.
So he's learning the ropes now, and we're adjusting him to the Element way of doing things, and he's part of the team now. So don't be surprised, all you people in the multifamily industry, if Brandon starts reaching out soon, because he's going to be calling on all you folks to try and stir up a little more business. So why don't you start off and just kind of tell everybody a little bit about your background for those that don't know your whole family history in the multifamily industry, because this dude's like whole family is in the industry. Like no kidding there. But I mean, tell us a little bit about your background, where you're born, where you're raised, etc.
Well, I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, raised in Texas. So I like to say born in Tennessee, raised in Texas.
If you'd have told me that Memphis, Tennessee part, I don't know how much further we'd have been. We'd have to talk about
This
that
interview
a little more.
is over.
I went to school in Wiley and graduated from Wiley High. Soon after, joined the military.
Oh, so you do that annoying AMO thing too, don't you?
Yeah.
All right. That's why John likes you so much.
Yeah. For you guys that don't know, AMO. Joined the military. Was medically retired after 4.5 years.
What branch?
Was in the Army.
All right. Got Biz excited now.
Then I've been, right after I got out of the military, I went into selling military equipment. So I kind of went all over the world doing that. Created a small little brand called Bushnell. Used to travel to Germany and Russia and China and all over Europe and North America and South America and all the fun places in the world that nobody hears about. So
nice.
Been there, done that. And then came back and really fell back into the family business, which is, as you said, multifamily.
What did you, I know we're not going to like hammer on a lot of this a lot and talk about it a lot, but what did you actually do in the Army?
I was EOD.
EOD, so he was the guy that took apart bombs. Stressful job. Hence, we're not going to talk a lot about that tonight. If you guys want to hear a good episode about that, go back and listen to the one with
2 episodes ago.
Yeah, go back 2 episodes and listen to Brandon Byers. Like, I just got goosebumps thinking about that again. Like, that was really intense. So, for respecting his wishes and everything else, we're not going to dive down that too far. I mean, but if any of y'all got questions, whatnot, as usual, feel free to chime in over here. All right, so back to multifamily. When you came back and got into multifamily, what did you decide to do in multifamily?
Well, I've done flooring for 8 years with a local flooring company.
You can say his name. We love giving Bronson shit. So any chance I can get to give Bronson a little crap, and I pray to God he watches this episode at some point, I'm all for that.
I worked with MFI Flooring, which is Brandon McMahon's company, and did that, learned the ropes, kind of moved over from there and worked at a construction company that did construction and restoration nationally. So I was kind of moving and grooving and chasing hurricanes and all the fun stuff.
Now, for the rest of our people that are smarter than a fifth grader, not I, when you guys always use the term multifamily, can you be a little bit more granular? And exactly what does that mean, multifamily? Like,
multifamily means
foster care or something, or do you build stuff, or that? Like, what does it mean?
Multifamily is the apartment industry. So anything to do with rehabbing, remodeling, repairing, assisting with any type of construction needs in multifamily, that's what we do. We are a full-service GC that services
general
the
contractor, ladies and
multifamily
gentlemen.
industry. Yes, we are a full-service general contractor.
Layman's terms, because he just assumes everybody. I mean, I know what all this stuff is because I hang around with him and all these guys that do it. But for those who may not know what it is,
no, I'm glad you're calling me out on this because I guess it does happen, especially when you're talking with somebody else in the industry.
And you know the lingo.
We know the lingo. So yeah, we're a general contractor. So and
we don't use the word complex anymore. That's the no word.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's
Look at that. You learned something today.
I even learned something today. 16 years in the industry, and the rookie's teaching me something. He's not really a rookie, though, when you're born and raised in it.
The new guy.
The new guy. So, and when Austin gets past his shyness, I've had a lot of requests. Everybody wants to know how the new estimator's doing, too. So we'll bring Austin on at some point and let Austin tell his story, too. But multifamily, so we rehab apartment complexes if they sustain a weather-related loss, a catastrophe, a fire, we will assist them with that. If the lender, the city, requires certain general maintenance repairs or something like that, we will also assist them with that. Other than that, it's their general day-to-day needs of they've got a patio that's damaged, a sidewalk, or just really anything to do with an apartment complex. We don't dabble in the residential. Complex. And yes, I said it too. Apartment. I wonder why. Like, is that a new cancel culture thing that now we're like complex is like a negative term? Like, that's so stupid. Like, I don't understand today's world with all this canceling of words and history and don't get me started on that. We'll be here for the whole hour and a half.
Oh, I'm in college as well, so
crazy, man. Yeah. So
read a college textbook right now and it's all cancel culture.
So how do you deal with this, or how do you look at this? Because you and I talked about this when we first sat down and talked. We got introduced by his mother because I was getting beat up on the podcast about how my SEO sucks and that I'm not doing anything right when it comes to SEO. And his mother was gracious enough to comment and be like, talk to Brandon, he can help you out. So a quick little lunch to talk about that turned into like a 4-hour lunch where he ends up getting made a job offer shortly thereafter and is now a new sales guy at Element. But it started off with us talking about SEO. But thinking about you coming back into the multifamily space, because obviously you left for a little bit, went back to school, trying to figure out what exactly you want to do. I'm sure a big part of your drive and what you want to do in the multifamily industry kind of has to drive around to finding your own space. Because you have so many family members that are Hall of Famers in the industry and have been presidents of the industry, and a lot of big things. I mean, like, your family credentials in the industry are huge. So I'm sure there's a big part of that of wanting to carve your own lane.
Absolutely.
How have you gone about that, and how do you look at that to still make your own mark in the multifamily industry?
I think every day is a new challenge, and every day is a day where I'm striving to really grow my own business and my own path in the industry. And all I can do is, from a day-to-day perspective, is really do what I say when I say it, and when people need something, always be there. And so that's a big important thing for me, is just to always have a good name in the industry.
Right on. So what was maybe the tie there that you saw with Element as being a good fit for that?
I mean, you guys have a great name in the industry. That's hands down for, I believe it's 27 years? Correct me if I'm wrong.
21. This is 21.
Okay.
I think this is 21, because September will be my 16th year at the company. Yeah, this is 21 years since Bill and John started Element.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So again, 21 years of being in this industry is substantial, especially construction.
Yeah.
Construction companies come and go, but when you can stick it out for 21 years, it's saying something.
Yeah, right on. What was the first, what was your first experiences like in the multifamily? Like, what did you like about it, dislike about it? Like, where did you go?
You have to understand, I started young. I'm sure
you were like a porter on a property when you were probably not legal to work because of your family.
We're not going to talk about how old I was, but my very first job, I walked around with a white bucket and a scooper, and I picked up dog poop. So you can say that my first job was pretty shitty.
Yeah, legit.
That's my 10-year-old's job right now, and he loves it because he gets $20 a week.
Hey,
No qualms with it.
I didn't make bad money. I'm just saying.
Had me thinking about getting a bunch of Walmart bags and some plastic gloves and going door to door on my block.
There you go. There you
Just
go.
saying.
With that other kid now.
That lazy bag of bones. We ain't gonna talk about him.
Hey man,
I love my
is
kids.
the trash empty? I'm just curious.
You know what?
Maybe Cool Beans will jump on here.
Don't get her started. She'll come show up in person to talk about it. She won't even chime in online.
I mean, I know one kid's hair looks a lot fresher than the other one's because one actually does his chores. The other one likes to be a little knucklehead.
Yeah, my kids have to earn haircuts.
Okay.
That's not when it's not. As long as you have shampoo to wash it, it's not. You got to earn getting it cut. So yeah, but no, he's stepping up. He's getting it now because being that he's a freshman in high school and there's girls there that actually will talk shit about you.
Yeah.
He's like,
now it matters.
Yeah, that trash has been on that curb and out the house on time for the last couple of weeks. So I think some little female done got his attention.
And he's got a fresh haircut the whole time?
He looked homeless for like the last year.
Yeah, you remember that movie with Ice-T where like they were
New Jack City.
No, I was thinking about the one where like he gets kidnapped and then they hunt them down, like they actually hunt him.
Oh yeah,
when he
yeah,
had those
yeah,
like nappy hair, like he was a bum, and they
That's Jesse. That's Jesse. But then the bad part about that though, that's the style. Some kids just like my boy said on Friday, like a whole bunch of spiders on your head having a meeting is like the style. I like, not my house.
Nope.
You get it right. But that's a whole nother common sense conversation. Don't get us into the parenting thing because we'll be here for the next hour.
I mean, he likes somebody. He's got kids at home too.
I've got 2 kids. I
What are
understand.
their ages?
4 and 10, but I'm a single dad, so I'm doing it solo by myself. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Girl, boy, boys, girls.
So
girl.
I've got a 4-year-old son, and my daughter just turned 10. Yeah.
So she got the
queen
big
of the
birthday
house.
party over the week.
She's the queen of the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just honestly, does she get away with a lot more than
Everything.
She should? Yeah.
Everything.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. My daughters are 30 and 28, and they still get away with. It's okay. Anyway, so changing the subject.
Well, it's a good time too because everybody's going to ask, and I'm going to forget. But since we're talking about general stuff here today as well, what are we drinking? What are we smoking? So, right now, as you guys know, the ICC remodel is pretty much done. It's kind of a soft opening now, so private members can get drinks at the bar, and there's a very, very limited food menu until the Frakes return from their lovely trip to Europe. But I went with the old fashioned, and I think you did tequila and something.
Yeah, tequila. Pretty much straight.
Yeah, so he's going a little more hardcore than me, but that's what we're drinking tonight. And then as far as what we're smoking, Brandon is not a regular cigar smoker, so we wanted to find something that would,
this is good though.
Be well-rounded. Yeah, so his main experience is smoking Cuban, so obviously he smokes more when he's on vacation and on the golf course with, whomever.
Listen, Miami's fun.
Miami can be fun too. Yeah, I can see that. You get a lot of fakes there though too. That's the hard part.
Better check that box.
Yeah, you better really know your shit if you're trying to buy a Cuban in Miami. But I'm smoking the Adabay Lancero. I'm sure it has some other special name, but it's the Lancero by Adabay. I actually have not smoked this Adabay before, so I wanted to try it since they're back in. He is smoking the Sabios.
This is amazing.
Both excellent
Hands
cigars. If I get to it, though, it might be by the end of the show. I don't know. We'll see. I absolutely love these cigars right now. They just came back in up here. They're called the Pyramid by Padron.
That's what you were talking
two
about.
different versions. There's a dark Maduro wrapper, and then I'm not sure which. This is kind of like a Connecticut. It's not a Connecticut wrapper, though, I don't believe.
So for somebody that knows nothing about cigars,
yeah,
what do you feel like is the difference between the two?
All right. Nelson Alfonso makes extremely good cigars that are well constructed, well put together. They're premium, they're aged, it's really hard to even compare stuff to an Adabay. Allegedly, there is probably a little bit of Cuban tobacco in these.
Okay.
Possibly,
Allegedly.
or at least Cuban seeds grown in some other country. I don't really know, but
Or a dude from Cuba actually put it in his hand and then passed it to somebody else.
yeah, however you want to look at it, but they're super. He has a large line. Okay. So you have the Bandoleros, you have the Alfonsos, you have the Adabays. What am I forgetting? Come on, Biz, help me out here. I'm forgetting.
From over there, Byron.
And then you have the Byrons. So Byrons to me are a lot more, and Bandoleros, a lot more full-bodied, a lot more flavors.
Okay.
They're not. I don't want to say they're not smooth. They're smooth in their own way. Whereas these though are a little bit lighter, a little bit more well-rounded, that especially somebody that's not a regular cigar smoker, this is easy. But even if you are a regular smoker, you're not going to feel shorthanded with this either. It was kind of this or the Genesis by DC that Luciano did with him for me to pick for you tonight.
Okay.
I just decided we were going to go Adabay because I was smoking an Adabay, but you guys have all seen me suggest the Genesis to people before, so that's another one. The Padron, much earthier, a richer, bolder cigar. This is a lot heavier of a smoke.
Okay.
I'm fascinated with this. I don't know if I'm sure they probably have the patent on this, but this pyramid shape where
it's wild looking,
really wide up at the top, and then it funnels down. It draws really well. You don't have to relight it a lot. You can set it down, pick it back up. Whereas, as long as I've been talking and not hitting this, I might have to relight this in a minute. Just kind of depends. But that's what we're smoking. That's what we're drinking. So, and hello to my lovely wife. She's on here saying hello to everybody. So Sarah says hello.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
So let's get back into multifamily. Let's. What do you think has been so far the most impactful lesson you've learned in the industry, either from your family or just you've learned being in the industry?
I would definitely say doing what you say and say what you mean. I think that's the most important thing. I definitely would say, I've always been really active in the, apartment association. I think that's huge.
Yeah, that's a huge thing for anybody. You guys have heard me advocate that a lot.
I think the more active you are, you get out what you put in. And so the more active you are, you tend to get a lot more back.
Yeah.
I think that's so important. And I think you're able to really network not only with your competitors, you're also able to network with other vendors. You're also able to really build that relationship with owner managers outside of the office setting.
Yeah.
So I think that's been huge for me personally.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. I mean, making connections, being involved in the association that supports our industry, giving back to the community, giving back to the industry, you can't go wrong there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and they will help you get more involved. All you got to do is kind of raise your hand, speak up. They'll gladly take your help and your time. And I think you kind of nailed that on the head too. Just you want to build friendships with these people. You want to build relationships. They got to see that you're not just bouncing around all over the industry. You're committed to the company you're at. You believe in it. You're part of it, and you support it. So,
I think the big thing that a lot of vendors, some know, some don't, is all that money that we're going and we're giving to is PAC money that then turns around and supports legislation that directly affects our industry.
Yeah.
And so they're out there advocating for us. So the more we're active in it, we actually reap the rewards from the same activity. So it's a double win for us as vendors.
Plus being on these committees and being a part of these things, which I'll openly admit I have done a terrible job of in the last 5 years. The 10 years previously, I did all kinds of stuff. Now, if I don't show up to an event or something, I'm getting busted on for the entire next event that I didn't go or support XYZ. So that is actually one of my major goals for 2024 is to re-involve myself a lot more in the associations.
That's awesome.
Which helps because I'm helping with bringing you on board and going to be going to a lot of the stuff with you. So that actually helps drive that a little bit too.
For sure.
Yeah. What do you think has been the best sales advice you've been given? Excuse me.
I would say just being active. I think I said this when we were talking originally, which was really the more you put into it, the more you get out of it, the more you actually drive to actually speak to the right people effectively. And when they need you, you're there.
Yeah.
I think that's so important. And I think actively going out to talk to the people that need you the most. So those construction managers, those regionals, even at a property level, when they need you, you're there. But I think meeting the right people effectively, I think is so important.
Yeah. Because if somebody on the property level sees that a higher up, whether that's the manager, the regional VP, the construction guy, if they see that those people are calling on you in a time of need, well, guess what? They want to call you too because 100%. They know, like, if I'm going to get ahead of them on this problem, this is who they're going to call. So I want to call them too.
Yep.
I want to get to know them because, like, that's obviously who everybody has a lot of faith and trust in of resolving a problem. Because the reality is in construction, shit is always going to go wrong at some point. Like, you can't get through an entire week without having a job not go. I mean, I don't say every job has to go bad, but something unintended, unexpected is going to happen.
Well, it's how you handle that.
And how you handle that is huge. I mean, I just had one a week ago, roughly, that over a 2-week period, and it's never the big job. It's never,
small little ones every time.
Very rarely is it the big rehab job, the big fire, the big carpentry and paint job. It's rarely one of those that bites you in the ass.
It's the rail outside of the office.
Stupid little handrail or a shower leak or a roof leak or something that, the maintenance guy could have called you on.
Yep.
And then he pushes this up because it's something he can't figure out, he can't deal with, doesn't have time to, whatever. It's that little job that everybody doesn't give the same attention to as they would the big job. And then the shit avalanches.
100%.
I just had one of these with one of my largest clients, and it took a lot to turn that situation around. Yep. We're talking about a shower pan leak that was misreported, misdiagnosed, and misproject managed right out the gate. So 3 strikes right out the gate. Luckily, this client knows that this is not what you normally get when element comes out on a job site. Like, this is just, we have a long running history. They know,
yep.
The red alarms started going off right away. And I'm coming back from being sick. I get blown up. It's like the world is ending over this shower pan. And I'm like, all right, hold on. What's going on here? How did this go so south? Now it's like, all right, cool. Switch this person, bring this person in, make this work. Now we deal through all these issues. Then we find out, it's still leaking, even though it wasn't done right at first. All right, now we got to figure out, why is this still leaking? Well, we find another leak in the bench seat. All right, now we've got it. But now everybody's questioning everything that's been done, everything that's not been done. So coming to a happy medium where everybody knows we solved the problem, it's 100% fixed. We even came back and water tested this a second time just after everything was done, just to make sure. Did not want another callback.
Yeah,
on this
100%.
job. So we make sure that everything is solid. Then it's the process of making sure the manager, the regional, the construction guy, the owner, the tenant, all feel like they've been made whole.
100%.
Because they've all been a part of this process, and the fact that early on, some of this went to shit and wasn't right. But we had to have time to make it right, and then make sure that everybody understands that we're being fair. Here's, we're going to adjust the bill. We're going to do all these things that we can to make sure that they feel like they were made whole. They still paid a fair price, and that they got what they signed up to get in the beginning. That's a lot to cover sometimes. And we're talking about a little tiny shower pan job. This isn't some big, we weren't remodeling the clubhouse.
You kissed a lot of butts that day.
Dude, I've kissed a lot of butts for a week and a half trying to make this right and to have the right conversation too.
Yeah.
And a lot of times too, it's having the experience and then where about you to not take it personally. And that's hard sometimes because, believe it or not, we actually care about it. That's actually the enjoyment you get out of being in sales in the construction world is seeing something that needs repaired, fixed, or upgraded, seeing what it was, and then seeing what you actually did to it in the end. So, seeing that I've got a pissed off client and a shower that's still leaking, that ain't what I wanted to see. Yeah, especially after coming back after being sick. I'm out. I figured my team handled things. Didn't get handled right. We had to come back in and fix things. So, in the end, as a team, we fixed it all. But how we communicated that and made that work was night and day difference. If I could let everybody read the emails that I got and be a part of the phone calls and be a fly on the wall for the first week, you would never believe the email that I got this morning where it was thank you. We know this was a hiccup. You made everybody feel whole. Really appreciate how you handled this. Use you on all our properties.
Well, that's
and glad to see that you guys stood by us through the end and made this right.
That's all that matters, honestly, is getting to the result.
Yeah.
You know, it's those contractors that get frustrated.
Yeah. Or even the
work.
project manager, because the project manager that came in to save the day,
Yeah.
he didn't think it was going all roses and peaches and just everything was great. He still thought like, oh man, they're really, this was tough to deal with. Like, I mean, I did my job and I fixed this stuff, but like, I still don't feel like, he didn't feel like they were very happy, you know, like he still felt like he was kind of taking, you know, and he's eating crow for somebody else.
Yeah.
So that's a tough position to be in, you know? So like, again, one of the things I do as a senior person in leadership is I made sure that email was shared amongst our leadership team, our construction team, and that he got some kudos for that, because that is very important, because like I said, he didn't feel like he saved the day, although he had.
He did.
But then, as of this morning, he knows he saved the day. He got that attaboy.
Yeah.
Good job, man. Like, thank you for saving everybody's ass on this one. Like, we all really needed that. So, you know, it's important to recognize that, because at the end of the day, what we sell, you and I, as construction guys for a GC firm, we sell the ability to manage the project better than they can, or when they don't have time, to be there day in and day out, and we bring in the right people to do the job, and they expect us to do it right and do it right the first time and stand behind it.
I mean, I think that's what makes a good company in general. I mean, no matter if you're a GC,
Yeah.
you know, especially if you're a GC, because you run into so many issues so often. But any type of business that's really just trying to grow, you know, doing the right thing at the backside of what's going on is so important. And then just really bumping up your team so that they know when something goes awry, going back and just reinforcing, hey, this is how you handle things calmly.
Yeah.
Hey, this is the way you handle it in a demeanor in which we're going to get it taken care of regardless. Mm-hmm. And then in the backside, we can all give high fives. But right now, we're all hunkering down. And so I think that's awesome.
What? Brian, nice. Who dropped the soap on the shower job? Nice. I'll give you two guesses, Brian.
I'm the new guy, it wasn't me.
Yeah, it wasn't the new guy. It wasn't any of the, like, really new guys, which there's only two of those. So you can narrow it down from there. But that's all I'm saying on that one. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus on this. It was a good learning lesson for a lot of people. We'll just leave it at that. What's maybe something that's come up in your multifamily career where it was a problem, like this shower pan ordeal, that taught you a valuable lesson of either how to deal with a problem or how to look at it? Like what's something that comes to mind for you on that note?
I mean, listen, in flooring, it's a daily.
What are you talking about? You have one waste factor. It's super easy. You just go in and sketch it out, figure out how many rolls that roll out 12 feet work. It's easy. What are you talking about? There's problems in flooring too?
Thank you, Mr. Property Manager.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I mean, you didn't know that you needed 20 bags of float for that floor?
Every time you pull up a floor, it's an adventure. Mm-hmm. I have literally been at properties where we would pull up one piece of sheet vinyl and another one's under it, and another one's under it, and another one's under it. And you're at 8 sheet vinyls, and you're like, oh, no wonder the door sticks. Because it's been layered for the past 8 years.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting.
Because nobody wants to pay to abate that first low tile that has asbestos glue under it. So we're just going to keep caking it on here.
Yep. And then we would go in and really just, you know, then it's our fault because we pulled it up. So that's always, you know, a blast when you pull up that last bit of sheet vinyl that's also attached to the tile. Yeah. And the floor underneath is Gyp Creek, and you're having to repair everything across it.
You mean it's sand at this point? I mean, there's 8 layers on here. There's no way there's still concrete under there. I mean, the pyramids are still standing in Egypt, but that shit is ash.
It was a constant thing. And, you know, thank goodness I have a truck. so that I can constantly be throwing carpet and or, additional planks in the back of the truck and running them to said job site at 7 o'clock at night. So that was a lot of fun. And I don't miss it at all. I don't envy flooring people at all.
Yeah, it's the same way I feel about climbing roofs. Like, I'm not climbing any more roofs. Like, I got out of the insurance industry not to climb roofs. Like, I have a bunch of roofing crews that are more than capable. I don't know why you would need me to go up there and tell you anything about that roof. If you want to get up there with the expert, get up there with the expert.
That's why my ass has a drone.
You feel like Johnny Badass and you want to get up there in your cowboy boots and walk around on the roof, have at it. I've been stuck on roofs. I've damn near fallen off of roofs. I don't do that anymore.
I definitely have been stuck up on a roof in Dallas.
I almost had to call the fire department to get me off a roof in University Park. You can ask James, my estimator, about this. I had to wait an hour and a half for him to finish, and he came and laughed his ass off at me because the wind had picked up in the middle of summer. It was like 100-something degrees out. I'm on this 10, 12 pitch roof with no granules left on the shingles, so it's ice. My ladder, I forgot my strap and did not strap it to the gutter, so now it's doing woo, and it's fully maxed out 2-story ladder, and I'm stuck. And I'm too puckered up to get back off the roof and onto this ladder without somebody holding it. Hour and a half wait for that one. And I legit thought I was going to have to call the fire department to come get me off the roof. And I had to eat shit for months about, the baby boy couldn't get off the roof, got stuck in University Park. Yeah, that was tons of fun.
I mean, our ladder was stolen while we're on the roof, taken to a local pawn shop, and sold while we're still on the roof.
Oh.
So we stayed on that roof until they could get another ladder out to get us off the roof.
Oh, that's so bad. That's so bad. It's the dumb things you do when you're trying to help people. Like, I can remember one like that too, where I almost broke my ankle. This guy, I'd been out 2-3 times to look at his roof. This is when I was still in insurance.
Okay.
I was adjuster. This guy called back out. He wanted me to meet with his roofer that was disputing whether or not this roof should be totaled, right? This guy has an 8-foot fence in the backyard. The only place you can get on the roof is in the backyard. It's the only part that has a low enough drop down that's at a pitch where you can walk up and over to get on it. I get out there. The guy's not home. I call him and I'm like, hey, man, granted, I'm here about 15 minutes early. I was going to mark out these squares so that when your guy gets here, real easy. Oh, yeah, man, just go ahead. Go. You can get on the roof. I'm not going to be there. My roofer's going to meet you in like 30 minutes. So go ahead, though. It's fine. I'm like, okay. So what's my dumbass do? I pitched my ladder up against his fence because his fence is locked, and he won't give me the code. So I'm like, all right, if I get on top of the fence, I can pull the ladder over and throw it on the other side, and then I can climb down, and then I can re-pitch it in the backyard and go. Well, I get on top of this 8-foot fence, and I look below me, and it's like the gate, right? Like I'm right at the gate. I'm like, man, I don't need to like climb down the ladder. I can just hop down, and man, I can just drop off this. Well, I didn't see the one step down to the pool deck from the driveway. And man, I hit right on the edge of that step and completely rolled my ankle. Passed out for a few minutes, like it was that bad. Like I passed out.
Oh.
Woke up, like realized what I'd done. My ankle is, I think, broken, but luckily it wasn't. Strap it back on. Now I got to climb back over and get myself out. And then this guy shows up, and this is the best part though. I get back out and he's like, hey, so we're going to get on the roof? I was like, you can. Have at it. I mean, take pictures if you need to, but my ankle's jacked. I ain't get up there. This guy starts berating me. Oh, we've been fighting this, and of course, you're not even going to get on the roof. I'm like, dude, I just jacked up my ankle. I'm not getting on the roof. It's too steep.
Yeah.
If you mark the squares, take pictures. We're good. Technology's good enough we can do this from the ground. this guy is shit talking me. The whole time he's walking all over the road. He's marking it. Well, about the time he goes up over that second story ridge and gets on the front side that is straight up 10, 12, and then there's a side pitch towards the side yard in between the houses, he goes down, going down the side. Oh. He goes down, he hits the pipe jack, tries to grab it. That just swings him around. Now he's going even faster. Hits the gutter, tries to grab it, misses it, and falls and lands in some holly bushes. And it sounds like somebody just hit a watermelon with a baseball bat. Oh. You just hear this thud, thud, and all the air went out of him.
I'm just curious, like, how many words did he speak on the way down?
He was praying to God on the way down. After all that bumping his gums, shit talking, he was screaming to the higher powers, the man above. And he hit that ground. I walked over. I was like, "Hey, man, you all right? Do you need me to call an ambulance? Or
hey, you need to get back up on that ladder.
Take you? Do you need me to type? I mean, like, do you need some help? Like, just give me a minute." He just gave me the 1 minute sign, and I look at him, and his Jake from State Farm outfit, his khakis are shredded down this side, his shirt's all torn up. I mean, this dude looks like somebody just whipped his ass. That roof did. And I was like, so what do you want to do, man? He's like, we're good. I'm not even going to deal with this. Just, leave me here for a minute. I'm like, man, I'm not leaving until we make sure somebody's getting you out of here. Like, you're all right. Like, you walk to your truck and get back in. I'll help you load your ladder and stuff, even though you're talking shit. My ankle is jacked, but let's just go on down the road. But yeah, dude, I loved it. The dude was talking shit to the second he fell, and then he was just done.
Was that instant karma?
Yeah. Karma's a bitch. It will get you.
I agree with that for sure.
So,
or God has a sense of humor,
That's true too. What's maybe one of the best lessons you learned from one of your family members, since they're all in here? Let's throw one of those out here.
I would say it's harder to work for your family.
Oh, working from your family is terrible. I wouldn't recommend that to anybody. But
so who all in your family
can do it
in the industry? Like, give me a breakdown of who does
it's
what. It's
probably easier for him to tell you who's not in the industry. But he can try. I'll see how he answers this.
My godmother is a CEO of a management company. Mm-hmm. My mother is the president of a management company. Ain't
nobody got no punk ass positions in your family, bro. They run stuff.
No.
My birth father is the CEO of a management company.
Ain't nobody a janitor. Ain't nobody bookkeeping. Nothing. Everybody there's a C in front of everybody's title so far. Keep going. I'm just saying.
My father is an owner of a roofing company. My sister is a director of marketing for a management company.
So, do you think your two kids? You think is it in the blood? Or do you think they're going to have any? I mean, it's too young to tell at the ages they are. But I'm just saying, do you have an inkling that they're going to be somewhere in this industry once they get up out of here? I
would say what I know about the industry is that we all drag our kids straight into it. Okay. And so
one thing I think everybody has to understand about multifamily is it is a huge business. I mean, it's all across the world.
Yeah.
It's a tremendously large group of people, but it's a very small, tight niche group too. Like, you really have to put in your work. You really have to put in your time. People have to get to know you, know what you're about, who you work for. Are you sticking around? Again, are you bouncing around, whatnot? Yeah. Because they're not going to give you the time of day if you are.
Nothing.
I mean, but that's why I don't think many people leave either. I mean, like even you've come and gone from the industry a little bit, but at the end of the day,
I come back.
You come back. And I don't think that's just because of your family. I think it's because of the positions you had in different sales roles. You know how long it took you to, even somebody that has a family in the industry, you had to earn your own respect and your own name. And you know how long that took you. And the amount of time you had to put in that. And I tell every guy that's starting out, different for you because you're already in it, but 2 to 3 years, minimum. I was so mad at one of my partners when he first hired me at Element. He told me he'd have me selling in a year. Bullshit. Took 3. And that was me doing 2 jobs for 3 years to build up to the point that I could be sales full time. So like, you have to put in the time. And when you do that, I think you recognize like, man, it doesn't matter where you go. Like, you may get tired of selling flooring, but you still have all those connections. Yep. You still build all those relationships. And that applies wherever. Like, you could have gone to selling roofing for your dad. You could have come to Element and be general contractor. You could be selling paint for Sherwin-Williams. Like, you still have a shit ton of options, but you know what it took to get there.
100%.
And if you were a person of your word, you had integrity, you did the things you said you were going to do, and you took care of people, and you were good at any of those jobs, then you're going to have another opportunity in the industry because people know what it takes to build up and to sell in this industry.
For sure. And I would say that, you know, the best thing about this industry is it's so big. The worst thing about it is it's so small. And the moment that you don't do what you say, they remember that.
Oh, yeah. It's going to take you a lot of time to save face and bring that back around.
And I've definitely, I'm a firm believer that like once you've built that relationship with the right person, it takes 9 months. But it's to find that right person and getting up to meeting that right person. It's a baby. So, you know.
I'm going to say if you're really on your game or you just naturally click with somebody, you're looking at 9 months to a year of just, you know, because you don't, you know.
It takes a year to get that person.
Sometimes it takes a year just to meet, to get the introduction.
Yep.
You know, I tell this story about, it's Willowbridge now, but it was Lincoln. I've told this story before of how long it took me to get in there. And the whole reason I did it is because somebody told me I couldn't, that it was impossible. I bugged the shit out of Darnell Harris for months, probably a year, to the point he finally told me, like, hey, the guy you need to talk to, I've got him going to this business exchange. He drinks this beer, bring 2 beers over, stand in line, talk to him, tell him I sent you over here. And that started everything to one of my long-term relationships. You know, my other big client, I inherited from one of my partners, and several people either stepped in or tried to take over that account. And at the end of the day, the main decision maker is like, no, I've said from day one that if it's not you, it's him. And it's because, like, even when I estimated for this client, I took care of him. I built a relationship with him. Yeah. You know, even though technically early on I wasn't supposed to call him directly because I wasn't a sales guy and that wasn't my role, and I was supposed to report to him and let him make that call. I might have went around that rule a little bit at times and been like, hey man, like, you didn't hear this from me, but you got this major liability out here. I was only called out here to look at this. Do you want me to address this while I'm here or not? And he's like, absolutely. You take care of that. Like, thank you. I'm more pissed that I have a full-time staff that walks by that every day and no one else has said anything to me. Yep. And you know what? It was little things like that I built a relationship with this client. It's also a very good friend of mine. And that's why I have this account to this day. Is, you know, and that started out with me being an estimator for him. And that's why I tell all the guys, whether it's a project manager or estimator, treat all these people exactly how you would want to be treated. And don't shit on a porter or a maintenance guy, because that guy eventually is probably, if he's good or stays in the industry, he's going to be a head of construction one day.
Well, I think
or the leasing agent's going to be a regional VP at some point if they're good.
There's a porter, and I think it was in Dallas. Mm-hmm. he became the president of a property management company in DFW. So went from porter all the way up
To being president of a management company.
of being the president of the management company.
I believe that.
And
I can see that. I know some of those guys at Lincoln that have been there, you know, I mean, granted, some of them have started passing and stuff like that, which is super sad. But, you know, some of these old guys that have been there a long time. I mean, there's guys that, I keep saying Lincoln too, so forgive me. It's Willowbridge now. I don't want to offend anybody, but it's hard for me after having this long relationship to remember
I say the
that.
same thing about Pinnacle. Now,
Yeah,
now it's
yeah.
Cushman and Wakefield. So
Yeah. So, I mean, you have all these things here. They change names, get bought out, grow, expand, whatever, merge. You have a lot of that, but it's really tough because some of these guys, like, I mean, I know for a fact, and I won't say names because I'll butcher this, but I can think of like 4 or 5 people at Lincoln that have been there for 25 plus years, 35 plus years. And I know for a fact some of them started out as a porter or just a maintenance guy in college or right out of college. And now they're VPs, heads of construction and this and that all grew up in the industry.
my mom started out as a leasing agent.
Yeah.
And she's now the president of a property management company. So, I mean, that's
And she's been a president of the association. Like,
Yeah.
your mom's one of my favorite people. And and I'll tell you why, too. I butchered her name so bad the first, like, few times, and she didn't even correct me.
fair enough.
Like,
fair enough.
she did, like, the 3rd or 4th time.
What's the first one you said? Was it?
Are you cool with me saying it?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. I called her Char.
Char. That's
Char.
pretty common. The other one
Char
is
was the first one I did, and it was
Share.
like...
Share is another one.
I did that one, I think, at one point too, and it was just so confusing because it's just looking at the spelling and stuff, and I don't have the greatest hearing in loud environments. All my days playing around with the bands and all that stuff, so
You're preaching to the
that's
choir
a
there.
really hard one for me sometimes. So sometimes it's not me intentionally doing it; that's just how I heard it. And, you know, the Char one, that's definitely how I heard it the first time. And I saw the look on her face, but she didn't correct me. And your dad was looking at me like, idiot, you know, and I was just like, okay, that was uncomfortable. And then I, like, you know, further on and then being more involved, and I really got to know, and I was like, I had to tell her one time, like, we ended up doing one of the, like, ride-arounds where it was, like, one of the big pack events.
Oh, yeah.
And a group of us gets in a limo, and they take you around like bar hopping type.
Was it the escalation dinner, I believe, with all of Tim Love's
Fort
restaurants?
Worth, like
Yeah.
we did that, and I ended up in there with them, and we ended up joking about this. I mean, a decade later, but it was still funny, and like, you know, I don't think as a good salesperson too, like we were talking about building the relationship. I can't tell you how many people I've worked on building a relationship with that I don't ask them for their business. Not for a long time. Like, usually I hope after a while they're like, why aren't we working together?
Yeah.
You know, like, those are the best transitions when
100%.
you've made yourself present, you've built a relationship, a friendship, and then they ask you.
Yeah.
That is the best scenario, in my opinion, in multifamily, period. And I think that goes for a lot of different sales jobs.
I think the relationship matters above everything. And the person who taught me originally how to sell in the industry was Pat McMahon. So Brandon McMahon's dad, who was
The OG.
he's like the godfather of flooring.
Yeah.
But Pat, every single time he would go to a property, he would get the birthdays of the property managers, the regionals, the birthdays of their kids. He would learn, you know, everything about everybody in the industry, and he kept it all in notebooks. And then he would go back, and every single time he would get a job or they would have an anniversary or an event coming up, he would handwrite a card. So I've kept that. I continue to still do that. So I still do handwritten cards.
That's great advice.
Old school, OG right there.
That's old school. I did a lot of that early on, especially. I quit doing it when I realized that I wasn't being as cognizant of things that I should be. Because, and this is just a funny story to tell myself, because my dumbass had a Jewish client that, I mean, his last name tells you everything. We just became friends, and I don't put people into categories. I should say I try really hard not to. I hate being lumped into a box or a category, so I try not to do it to others. Like, I think it's the worst thing that society does today is to try to create all these categories and not just treat everybody as humans. For sure. So I didn't think about his last name at all. And I bought really nice holiday stationery. I wrote all of my clients a handwritten letter back then and would like thank them for their business, the opportunities, wish them a happy new year, everything else. And, you know, that just aside from like the gift baskets and stuff that we send out as a corporation or the gifts that I buy personally, you know, to promote those friendships and relationships. And finally, after about 5 years, we were out having drinks one night, and he was like, it was shortly after Christmas. He got my big package and everything, got my handwritten letter for like the 4th or 5th time. And he's literally like, hey, man, so I really appreciate the efforts and like your sincerity and everything. He's like, you do know I'm Jewish, right? And I was just like, oh, shit. Like, yeah, man. I mean, like, I just totally like, you know, I was like, you know, that should have like dawned on me at one point. Like, my bad, man. Like, I hope that wasn't ever offensive. He's like, no, I knew your intentions and stuff were good, and that's what you were.
Well, thank goodness he said it that way. And
yeah, like he was totally cool about it. He's still a client to this day. Like, you know, like granted, he doesn't have much here in DFW right now, but you know, we still keep in touch a couple times a year, and he's a great dude. But
does he have stuff in Houston?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'll have to find out. He only had like 3 properties in Texas, and then it was down to 2. I don't think he has any now. He's kind of been holding on to the long-term family stuff, like on the Northeast.
Okay.
And then he's based in Colorado, so I think he has some stuff there.
We just need to get that big. That's what I understand. That's where I was going with that.
Yeah, definitely. He's one of my favorite clients, too, because he does everything the right way. Like, when we rehabbed his property, it's a cash cow real close to DFW, the last one he had. And he literally, like, he also does energy efficiency audits.
Okay.
And so, like, he went back to school again to get this licensing and stuff. To, like, he's telling you the airflow coming in through the doors and the windows and what's the heat and stuff in the roof and the attic, and I mean, like, it's crazy. So he's spec'd out, like, and this was one of those old jobs that had the old school shit masonite with vinyl siding over it.
Okay.
Like, shit was rotted all the way to the sheathing, you know, in places. We tore all that off.
Oh, he just full
brand new windows in the whole property that had to be a very certain brand, low E, everything. Okay. He wanted this. A specific tape around them, flashed a certain way. He wanted the green board up, the zip board, full hardy. And then he also wanted, I think we did more insulation in the attic. We had done new roofs for him. That he went above and beyond with the spec. I think he ended up doing like a 50-year shingle on it or something.
Wow.
Like, I mean, dude, like, and I mean, people made fun of me at first because, like, for 3 or 4 years, it was tic-tac jobs he'd call in all the time. You know, I'm helping him with bullshit that people thought was too small, they didn't want to deal with. The headache shit. And we did all that.
Rails.
And then exactly. Shower pans and rails, you know, like that kind of stuff. But literally, we did that for years, and then he got a really good hailstorm. We did his roofs. He gets, he goes to refinance, and he wants to, upgrade the property, and he refinances and does this full-on rehab, most legit rehab we have ever been asked to do. As far as somebody going above and beyond and speccing it out to like specs that were like, in my opinion, in a lot of cases, overkill.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, seeing the results, and then he comes in and does his energy audits, and now he's able to say like, your utility bill is $80 a month, all in the dead of summer, dead of winter.
That's awesome.
Like, I mean, how many places can say that? And what was
Residents,
good is he was so
it.
close to DFW Airport that a lot of these pilots that flew in and out, that was their hub. So they would just have an apartment. They're not there all the time. They're flying all over. So it was like their hub apartment. Well, they did that. Well, you tell somebody like that, your highest bill is going to be $80 in a year.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'm not here half the time. So maybe his is $40.
Sign me up.
He's like, yeah, I'm in automatically. Like, this is perfect. So, I think doing that, and also, and I try to teach the estimators this, and, even sales guys that, really having conversations and asking questions, even if you think you know the answer, especially on a pre-bid or some kind of pre-con, to really make sure you understand what the owner, management, and everybody is really wanting out of this project.
Yep.
Because that can get a little sideways at times too, because
Knowing the
what
objective.
the management company wants and what the owner wants can be two different things at times,
Yep.
depending on the people you're dealing with. I have another client I'm doing a big job for right now, big carpeting and paint job. We've done 3 supplemental bids, and it's not because we missed stuff. It's because we were given one set of criteria, and that's what we bid off. That's what won us the job. But then walking with the owner, he's like, well, I really want to take care of these things. Okay, well, we can do that, but,
That's
why
gonna be a
don't you
total
walk with
different
me and
price.
set the standard of what you want here? That way we can just like button this down all at once. And it's led to like 2-3 other things that he really wants to address. He does this once every 5 years, but he's adamant, and he'll beat you up too. Like, we're doing select pine on this job.
Wow.
He walks around and sees a knot on a board. Guess what? You're replacing that. And we've had to tell him too, like, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Let us do our punch. When we see that our guys have put up a board, maybe they got one bad one in this batch, we're going to take care of it. Like, give us that opportunity. We'll take care of it for you. So I think that's real crucial, making sure you're talking to the right people and you're asking the right questions. Because, if you went out and bid what you think you need to bid, man, you're probably screwing yourself.
And you're going to be writing a lot of bids and losing a lot of bids.
Yeah, like,
Because you're not comparing apples to apples.
but you also have to have those tough conversations too about like, okay, I matched this bid or I walked as a spec, but hey, I also saw all of this. So once we take care of this worst of the worst stuff, how are you going to feel about that? Because that in between now is going to be the worst stuff on your property. How do you want to deal with that? Because if I wrote all that stuff up, I'm going to bid myself out of the job right out the gate.
Yeah.
But after we've won the job, let's talk about this because we know it's going to come up when we start punching. Even with us being known for how detailed our bids are, to where there is no question, like when we're walking this to punch, like, all right, we got 12 feet on the east elevation of 2x6 fascia. All right, there's the 12 feet pre-primed, like they're good. Check, they did this. They
The
did
most
this.
detailed bids I've ever seen a company do. Hands
Right,
down.
man, and that's why we get, and you're gonna face this a lot, man. You're gonna get so pissed off when clients send you a bid and say match this bid, and you can see that it's one of these even well-established guys that they walk the property, they walk 2 or 3 buildings, they average the shit, and they throw it in an Excel spreadsheet. That drives me mad. Where do you do the rub?
I think their bids were like this, and ours are like 15 pages.
Yeah, they'll send you a 3 or 4 page bid that's all in a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet that's just thrown onto some letterhead, and it's averaged out. Like, it just says building 1, 2x6 fascia, 180 feet. 1x2 siding trim, 80 feet. 1x4 window trim.
Oh, that's a detailed
feet.
one.
And it's like, how do you walk that with your client and make them actually feel like you did your job, and that they don't have hours to go do this punch and just walk with you and guess like, well, shit, now I got to add this up. Well, there's 4 feet of 2x6 fascia. There's 8 feet. There's 10. This other stuff. Well, shit, I'm only at 48 feet. You have 128 on here.
You got to figure out where they're talking about.
Now you're fighting about that? Like, that's insane, man. I would never want to be that. Like, but, you know, it's a battle, too, because they can go pump that bid out in an afternoon because they're averaging.
Yep.
Whereas you call us to come do that, we're going to book it. We're going to come out. An estimator is going to walk it for 1 or 2 of them, depending on how big the job is. They're going to walk that for sometimes 2-3 days.
Yeah.
Then they got to meet subs, get them out there, call in pricing so we make sure you're getting them the best pricing.
Mm-hmm.
Then they got to type all that up, get it to the sales guys so that they can price it out, then sell it. So we might be at a week, whereas they turn one in 48 hours, and then the client, well, is that what you want to go off of? Or do you want to? No, and that's what happens too. We get used for bidding a lot of times too, because they want our scope. Then they send it out to all their buddies, go bid this.
Yeah.
We know what we're getting here. So that's a battle you have to fight. But, you know, I would stand by that. You know, I wouldn't want to do it any other way.
Listen, it's done the right way the first time. And I think that's what matters, you know.
But you'd be surprised at how many people don't read the scopes. They flip to the back page and look at the number. And then you get into the tough conversation. Well, I walked with so-and-so and we talked about this. Well, yeah, and you told me to match their bid. I matched their bid. So I would assume that they put that in there. Well, they've forgotten about that because that was 8 months ago.
Yep.
Then you won the bid. They forget that they didn't walk with you. They actually walked with so-and-so. And you now are the winning contractor. You're out here. Now when they find out there's something there, those are tough conversations to have. But there's a way to deal with that. You know, you just got to have the conversation.
That's the fun one when they pull someone else's bid and then want to match yours from 3 months ago.
Yeah, or is this pricing still good from last year? Like, sorry, COVID ruined everything. Like,
everything.
prices cannot be guaranteed for that long.
Yeah.
So, you know, you just how you handle it. Yes, Brian, details matter 1,000%. I absolutely agree with that. Man, you're getting all kinds of comments on here. And yes, Paul, that is true too. It does not hurt showing up wearing the exact same colored coordinated outfits every single time. That was a running joke for a long time because John would call me and send me out there, and they would have just called him, but I was in the area, and I'd show up, and Paul and Brian would be out on a property. I think the best one was at Hidden Creek. And we all show up, and they're having their little powwow in the middle of some buildings. And I walk up behind them. I was like, I guess you guys got the memo. We were all supposed to wear blue today. And they're like, how the hell are you already here? Like, we just called John like 10 minutes ago. Like, I was like, yeah, I was just right down the road. So, I mean, they said this. All right, we're knock this out. And yeah, I got the memo. Blue.
Did you pull the blue shirt out from your truck
No, I
there?
didn't have to. That just seemed to be the way it worked. We were always on the same page with our color coordination.
That's
some
impressive.
Weird way. But it worked.
We just talked about shirt colors the other day, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the big conversation around the office right now because we're going to redo headshots with Biz.
Yay!
And update our website and everything else because there's been, you know, some people that have come and gone at Element and a lot of people in new roles. And we need to update that stuff. So, yeah, that's coming soon. You're going to see updated website and stuff. So what else do you look at when you're projecting on a new client? Like, how do you approach finding new clients or building a relationship with new clients?
I think an important thing that anybody in any sales role needs to know is you're interviewing each other, you know, and you need to find the right clients for you because you can have clients that are not the right fit for you.
Amen.
And it is so much easier to pass that off to to Garrett or to Mason or to someone else within the role because they may match better. That being said, being out there and being diligent, you tend to pick up more, but if you're just being seen in the, hey, I'm dropping stuff off today for the 37th time, that's a little different than having that dinner conversation where you really deep dive and find out what that client's needs are, what that client is really looking for long term. I think that's so important.
Sounds like when you what Garrett was saying earlier about dealing with the guy with the little knick-knack stuff until they're growing into something big. You got to understand that it's a relationship.
Yeah.
And so many companies, like he said, they'll get on you. Oh, that guy's just throwing you another, tic tac. Oh, he's throwing, and they'll give you a hard time. But that moment that guy throws that big, huge job, everybody shuts up.
Yeah.
I've even had it too, where I can say this too, that there's been clients I've walked away from.
Yeah.
I was about to ask, have you ever had to fire somebody?
100%.
And there's been multiple times, especially early on when I was first building up my clientele, my book of business, when I was first doing this. At the time, it was really just me and John. And, back then it was me, John, and another guy selling. So there's three of us. And personality-wise, we were all three really different. And there's people that love and hate all three of us. Were we as good back then about recognizing and being like, all right, man, like, this guy's really into hunting. I need to send him over to John. And, pass this on to John. Yeah. We were a little too competitive back then in that atmosphere of like, shit, I'm selling everything I can sell.
Well, we're sharks.
Yeah, I mean, like,
we're sharks
by nature, like, and we all want to outdo each other.
It's the alpha personality that creates a salesperson.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, we all want to outsell each other. So to give somebody a client that could turn into something, especially if your sales are already below the other person, that's a lot of maturity and a lot of letting go of your ego and everything else. We weren't real good at that early on. I can say that straight up. But I also got beat up early on when maybe the company really would have liked or could have used that sell. But after meeting with said person a couple times or really getting to know them, I'm like, we don't want this job. We're putting lipstick on a pig. And this is just going to be a headache. This is bad. We don't want to deal with this. And I got called in and questioned on it a couple times. I'm like, all right, well, here you go. Here's all the bids I've given this guy. He likes to drink XYZ. You can find him at this bar on this night of the week, 9 times out of 10. Here you go. Here's all the information. You guys want to go take this on? Go right ahead, but I'm going to pass. They obviously accepted that and, understood, but again, tough conversation, and it's not always easy to do that. I will say that in the last 2 years, as our sales staff has changed, it's gotten a lot better and it's a lot easier now. Like Mason and I have been selling solo, the two of us, for the last 2 years, and there's definitely a couple times where we've shared an account till one of us got more in than the other, and then that person takes it over. There's been other times, too, that I've met with somebody or at the business exchange, my first appointment was with so-and-so, and I sit down with them, and I'm like, man, me and this guy have nothing in common. Like, I'm all about cigars and bourbon and hanging out, and I want to go to events. This guy just wants to sit and fish off the side of his dock and drink Coors Originals. Well, that's probably way more up Mason's alley than my alley. And, I'll tell Mason, like, hey, man, call this dude, see if you can go anywhere with this. Yeah. Or, same thing when we sat down with you of like, hey, these are the accounts everybody has. These are ones we've kind of been thinking here, but if you can get in further, go for it, man. Yeah. And like you said, like, that's really important to recognize, too, that, like, man, this guy's ex-army, this guy's blah, 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 blah. Well, shit, I don't have anything in common with him other than I like guns and, blah, blah, blah. Brandon's probably going to like, these guys would be hanging out every weekend when he doesn't have his kids, These guys would be BFFs, Well, shit, that's way more lucrative to give that to you, whereas I'm going to struggle and fight to get any work, whereas you might go in and that might be your new best client, and that helps the company, which, regardless of position in the company, the more sales we can do across the board is better for everybody. It lowers overhead. Yep. So it makes your commission check higher either way. So even though you're not technically getting that little tic-tac of a sale on your numbers to be like, I'm leading the group right now. Well, my bonus check that would have been 2% less is now 2% higher because you actually did sell a bunch of stuff to that guy, and now we've brought in that extra income.
I think any sales role, and this is one of the biggest things that I've learned over my years of selling and kind of leading salespeople, is you have to be able to be a really good reader of body language, of personality, of demeanor, of what their urgency is, and knowing their why. Yeah. When you know their why, you can attack that in the manner in which they best will respond to it.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest things is you may not be the best solution. And so passing that on to someone else who is the best solution, who can actually answer their why 10 times better, is so much more profitable in the end, because supporting your team and letting them grow is just as important as yourself. Especially in working in the same organization. We're all kind of sharks in the same shark pit, all trying to eat the fish that are there. But here's the thing, is we also are all protecting each other and protecting ourselves in the organization and growing and really, really. I've been in situations where, and I think you told me about this same situation, is you even have competitors where you're still going after the same clients.
Yeah.
And with that, you really understand, okay, well, this client kind of fits my competitor a little bit better, and you're throwing bids at the same.
Maybe favors them a little bit more.
Yep.
And you know it going into it.
And you may take the back seat, which means you're not getting that big job, but you're still getting 50% of the work. And then that person comes or goes and changes, because again, this industry, people are not always in the same position. It's a lot of movement, a lot of changes. But it's those guys that sit there, and it's those guys that wait, and those guys that are consistent that end up getting the work.
Well, I think the hard part about what you just said is, if a manager or a construction guy calls us for a bid, he's going back or she's going back and presenting to the group once they get their 3 to 5 bids. So knowing the personality types is important, but it depends on what kind of project you're bidding.
Yes.
Because what happens when, I'll be interested to see what you think about this, but what happens when your head of construction calls you and says, I want you to bid this carpentry and paint. Go walk it, give me your scope. And there's going to be 3 others. Mm-hmm. You go out there and bid it. And let's say your construction head is a type A personality. Very aggressive, very organized, very on the ball, meticulous, going to go through every detail, whatnot. But let's say that the regional VP, that when he narrows these bids down, he's obviously going to give his recommendation. So first and foremost, you have to address him or her. Then how do you deal with or address the other people that he's going to go present to? Because what if that regional and the owner are like a type C person, where they take a while to warm up to, you don't want to sit there and have the conversation like, how was your weekend? Because you haven't earned that respect with them yet. Like, they don't want to shoot the shit with you. They're very analytical. They want to go through it. They want to go to the back page. They want to see the number. Maybe they don't want to be overwhelmed with all that. They're more numbers oriented, and they want to do that. Well, you're not having a chance to redo that presentation because you're not in that meeting. How do you deal with that?
I think that's what makes a good salesperson. It also makes a good leader is the adaptability. You know, I've actually been reading a book recently that's just talked about Spartans and kind of how they grew and how their whole culture transpired, and it's all about adaptability, and it's what made them great, but it's also what brought them down in the end.
Yeah.
And so the big thing with salespeople is how do you adapt to the people that are engaging with you on a daily basis? And if you're not able to adapt to those other personality traits, you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
You're going to have a very short career within the sales world. And I'm looking for a truck literally right now. And I have walked into countless dealerships. Man, I've walked into countless dealerships, and you know, the first guy that just runs out and shakes your hand, and he's, you know, still on his cell phone, and he's halfway kind of looking at you, and the first thing he does is he, you know, literally pulls your arm to come sit down in his chair, and the first thing he asks you, how much do you have to spend? Because I'm ready to get you out the door. I can't tell you how many salespeople I've ran into that are just like that. Mm-hmm. Because they are so gung-ho to get the dollar, they're not caring about the experience and growing their relationship.
Yeah.
And so
you're going to the wrong dealerships, first of all. I'm going to throw that out there. Chaz, Zach, Spanky, if any of y'all are watching this or tune in and catch this, hit me up. I'm sending my boy over to you guys.
I mean, I think I've been to like 30 at this point.
Damn,
So,
you ain't found one yet?
Man, I'm pretty picky. You know,
All right, we'll talk about this.
I'm looking for a diesel truck. You know, it's kind of hard to find.
It's Texas.
I got you. This is easy. This is easy.
But long story short, you know, I tend to relate to one person, but then the same thing happens in that instance. You know, you'll really connect with that salesperson as a consumer, and then all of a sudden, you know, now you've got to deal with, you know, the front desk person. That may be someone else. You know, also your sales guy may not be there on the same day you're ready to close on a deal. You may be in the same instance that you're talking about. You know, it's especially in the multifamily world. You know, it's got to go to this person and then this person and this person, and you may have the best connection in the world with the multifamily property manager.
But that owner's got his own relationships.
The owner's got a relationship. The construction manager has a relationship. The regionals have a relationship. President of the company has a relationship. And based on the company, it may be there's an owner over here and a property management company over here, and they may be totally separate, and they may have totally different views on what they want. And so clarifying the views, clarifying the objective is so important, because you need to let your bid speak for itself. You need to also be able to speak to your bid higher than the other guy. And you need to be able to adapt the conversation based on the different people that you're talking to, because you need to look at it from a financial standpoint from the finance guy, but also the construction manager, he's looking at it from a, can you get this done on time, effectively? Are you actually going to be able to get whatever it is ordered? Because we know how that is. Yes, it'll be here in 37 weeks. You know, that conversation. And so everybody has a different objective, and knowing what all of those, you know, whys are, so that when you walk in, you're tackling them all.
So is this something that, I don't know, it just, being around Garrett for years now and then listening to you, is this something that the multifamily thing, is it more of you're kind of already born into it, you got to hang around? Could somebody that's looking to change careers or something like that, could they get into your industry? And if
absolutely,
what would be
100%.
the entry point that you guys would suggest?
It depends on what you want to do. I mean, and what company you're going to work for. I mean, everyone has their entry point, but
They're
No
all
matter what
different.
your entry point is, I think the common root of what we've been talking about and what our advice has been, and correct me if I'm wrong or add to it if you want, but once you get into whatever role, whether you're estimating, project managing, selling, managing,
leasing agent.
I mean, because there's so many things you can go into. I mean, Biz, you could be selling paint, you could be selling wallpaper, you could be selling
Headshots.
fitness equipment, you could be selling website stuff, you could be, I mean, like,
And it's all in the
insurance.
multifamily
I mean,
industry.
yeah, but you're focused on multifamily. Like, it doesn't matter what you're in. The biggest things that we feel has helped us in our careers is being involved in the associations and stuff like that, because it all comes down to the relationships you build. So whatever can help you build relationships better is what you need to do.
Yep.
Whether that's being a part of, and there's so many associations and things to be a part of, and trade shows, and it's just everything. But the more you can be involved, the quicker you're going to build these relationships and the more effort and time you put into it.
Now, would you say then, I'll say both of you, would you guys say that you had a mentor? Not just somebody to teach you the ropes and this is your job, this is what you do, but somebody who honestly would take you by the hand to show you, and this is where the common sense part comes into it. Like for me, I always talk about my grandmother. But it's weird that at 52 years old, and no matter if I'm DJing, if I'm doing photography, if I'm shooting a movie, if I'm doing a music video, or if it's just life. Because even when I was in the Army, there were so many lessons that my grandmother taught me, and that was her thing. Her whole thing was, boy, use your common sense. It got to the point to where I would ask her a question, and she would just look at me, you use your common sense. What have you learned? What have I taught you? What did you get out of it? Because now it's time for you to go bump your head or use your common sense to pivot to use it. So are there mentors? Did you have one, Garrett? Did you have, either one of you guys say that somebody showed you the right and the wrong way to go down your path? Or is it kind of learn and burn as you earn?
I'll let you answer first.
So I've been in multiple verticals. So a vertical, and for those that are watching, verticals are multifamily, condo industry, hotel industry, just selling to military housing, that's its own vertical. Just selling to like
student housing, senior living.
Those are all different verticals.
So did you have a mentor or somebody kind of show you not just the ropes, but not that way, this way?
I think each vertical has its own mentor because everybody has a specialty. And no matter what it is that we're doing, you always have somebody that is really good, and finding that person has been so important. And yes, I specifically had a great mentor. He's up in Boston, and I would say that mentor for me was so important. And he was able to really, really drive home how to actually break into different aspects. And I met him through the apartment industry, through the associations. And when I met him and I grew through him, he continued to help me learn. He helped me to break into verticals that I didn't know that I really, really could be passionate about. So military housing became something that I drove my passion towards. And so I used to really go after that. And those are totally different management companies than the normal multifamily ones. And so I think finding the mentor who's best for you and who's already killing it. I mean, Garrett is a huge mentor in the industry. I mean, a lot of people look at him. Even my mom looked at him and said, hey, he's one of the people who is really doing great work in the industry. And so...
And and I'll say this too, because he said, that's a huge compliment. Thank you. I've never done business with his family. The closest thing to doing business with his family I've done is helping get him hired as a sales guy.
But he's known.
I've never done business with his mom, his dad, his biological father. I've never done business with any of them. Godmother, any of them. I've never done business with them. I've always maintained relationships with them. I've been a part of committees and meetings that they were all a part of, but I've never actually done business with them. And to answer the question from my standpoint, yes, I've been blessed to have many great mentors. And I hate the word mentor though, because people hear the word mentor and then they have a construct of an image of what a mentor is. And they think they have to find that person and that someone's just going to hold their hand and basically put it in their lap and just, show them the ropes and that it's just going to all fall in. That, to me, that's not really a mentor. It's finding people that you relate to and that have more experience than you and that can teach you and that you can call upon when you have a question or you're really struggling with something.
Well, to me, that is the definition of a mentor.
Yeah, but I mean,
right there.
Yeah.
See, people may think it's just let me show you everything while you sit there and watch. No, it is you doing the job, but the way you just described it, to me, that's the definition.
I agree, but I don't feel like that's everybody's definition. I think people want to find somebody that's just going to hold their hand and show them the game and pass stuff off to them and make their life really easy.
That's becoming more evident in the world that that's the generational difference.
Generational, but it's also that.
Yep.
I'm trying to remember this quote that Derek Harper, not the basketball player, a brilliant sales guy that I follow on Facebook. He talks about planting seeds and reaping what you sow from your harvest. And also not going and asking a community to provide you with a harvest that you've planted no seeds in. Now, I probably didn't say that exactly right, but it's pretty close.
Well, there was this one guy.
So, like, if you're going and asking somebody to mentor you, and you've planted no seeds with them or harvested no relationship with them,
nothing.
You're pissing in the wind. Like, you got to get to know somebody and really provide some value to them before you ever thought of asking them to mentor you. So, yes. I have had several really good mentors. I'll try to shoot off a few here. First and foremost, John Addix, one of my partners at Element. John tried to hire me for years. I had my own company. I didn't go to work for him. He got me at the right time. And, he started me at the bottom and he helped mentor me. Before that was his wife, Teresa. She helped pull me out of the mailroom at an insurance company and made me a claims assistant and helped me become a very successful, well-rounded adjuster. So both of the addicts, Teresa and John, were very instrumental in mentoring me into the person that I am today. From an outside standpoint, there's been a couple others that I would say were very crucial to my growth in the multifamily industry. And one, I would say, is a good friend and client of mine, Brian Freese, who's on here. Brian has always been willing to communicate with me, share his thoughts and insights from the other side. And even when I was wrong, politely, correctly tell me why they see it a different way, and taught me that from my role to the client role, he's been instrumental in really showing me a lot of that. And there's a lot of others that I would have to thank in that thing. Darnell Harris, same thing, provided a lot of opportunity with me. Ernie Williams, Geary Smith, those guys have all taught me a lot, whether from working with them or you want to say a mentorship or just having conversations with them off the record, so to speak, or anything like that. Jay Parmalee, another one. And then there's a lot of vendors that I would have to give credit to because I aligned with a lot of them early on to introduce me to people that where we could mutually help things. And the biggest person I can think of right there is James Giddens. James Giddens has been with Sherwin-Williams for... Pops has been there for a long time. And I always try to network with him. And I'd be like, hey, man, just, if you give me a lead, I'll never have another paint company bid that. Yeah. Like, that's somebody you helped me get in with because you wanted to bring another good contractor to the table, and I've always maintained those boundaries. There's been so many people. It'd be hard to name them all, but I feel like you find people that you communicate and that you can converse with on all the different levels, like whatever vertical it is, whether it's a vendor relationship, a client relationship, an owner relationship. Even your relationship with your subs and your project managers, because I think another thing that's real important to really boost up in our world as general contractors is we sell the ability to manage a project better than you can, or that you don't have time to designate someone to manage that project 24/7, 7 days a week. You don't have that. So to put that into perspective and say, okay, I'm selling the project management and my sub base that I have these guys that are skilled to this level, whether you have an A property, a C property, a D property, knowing what you need, getting you the right people to accomplish what you want to accomplish. There's mentors within all of that. You're going to find the person that you really click with and that's going to introduce you to people even when you're in an apartment association, and being friends with them and, introducing them to people too, Again, you got to give to get. You have to provide some value. No matter how you look at that, you're going to have to, don't just go in asking for shit. That's never good. What are you giving them? Why do they want to help you?
Yep.
What are you providing to them? Okay, well, I can sell you some more paint. All right, well, I'm also going to promise that if you give me this lead, I'm never going to bring another paint vendor in. I won't. That's off limits to them. Unless the client makes me, I won't ever do that to you. But, building those kind of relationship with people, that's huge. I wanted to say earlier, because it made me laugh when you were talking about competitors. We all know that we're getting bid against 3 to 5 people. And there's people we respect in our industry, and there's others we don't probably care for as much, but we know that that's still it. And maybe that person you don't care for much, they got a better relationship.
Yeah.
Well, you got to deal with that, And one of the funny ones that I remember, and I can tell this story now because he is passed, the great Ken Schwartz. I was scared to death of this man when I first met him, all the stories I'd heard about him. I wish there were more Ken Schwartz in the world, because that man, very similar to Brian Freese, shit is black and white. There is not a gray area. If you're in the gray area, you're in the wrong area. You either know or you don't know. And if he tells you to do something, if you're going to do something different, you better have got his blessing, because if not, you're eating that crow. If he told you to do something and it's wrong, he'll eat the crow. There ain't a lot of people in those positions that are like that anymore. But one of the funniest ones was Ken used to, the 3 of us that bid on his shit, he's like, are you guys sharing numbers? You guys are within $1,000 of each other. And you give a shit. Well, no, we didn't share numbers. But one thing I did do, and it's funny, and I can tell a story now. This guy is now one of my clients. He was an estimator / sales guy starting out around the same time as I did for one of our major competitors. I won't say their name. They're publicly traded now, though. That's all I'm going to say. So they're a big-ass company all across the U.S.
I think that just gave it away.
But maybe. Well, who knows? We'll see who's paying attention, who's listening. But him and I would be out here, and we're at this bid property, and he'd be like, all right, you guys got 3 days to get me this bid back in. Like, I need this and I need this shit now. All right. Well, I'd look at my buddy and we'd be harassing each other like, dude, why are you wasting your time? You know I already got this in the bag. Like, you got the last one. You know I'm getting this one. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the way this is going to work. Like, and we would bust on each other. But at the end of the day, I went up to him and I was like, hey, man, you want to be here all day? He's like, not really. We're going to be here for 2 days walking this shit. I was like, we could be or we could not be. So we all know it's going to come down to relationship, and then we're all going to come in the same realm.
Yep.
So I got a suggestion. How about you walk phase 1, I'll walk phase 2. We'll go to 7-Eleven or Kinko's or FedEx. We'll make copies of our notes. You walk that half, I'll walk this half. We'll be done today, and we can both be working on our bids and typing this shit up.
Yep.
So how about we do this? All right, sounds fair to me. We did that on almost every big pain in the ass job that neither of us had time for. And we would split the property up. We walked it much faster. Both of us had our bids turned in before anybody else. And we worked it that way. He later on went to another competitor, and then he got hired by one of his clients, and now he's the construction dude over there. And he's one of my clients now. And we have a great relationship, and we still talk the same trash to each other. We're just as close. But that's where our relationships are. So it was mutual respect. We knew we were all in the game,
Yep.
but it was a mutual respect. Like, hey, let's make everybody's job easier because somebody's got to create the scope that everybody's bidding off of. And then it made the client's job easier. Like, he would have hated if, like, I was admitting this and was still doing shit for him. But reality was, it got him his bids faster.
Yep.
All the bids, for the most part, at least 2 of his bids were apples to apples because that shit lined up and we both walked it the same way.
Yeah.
And wrote it up that way. Now, I don't recommend that to everybody. Obviously, we had some experience with each other and knew that there was a commonality here and that we both cared about our job to the same degree. I wouldn't do that with just anybody, you know, because I know what we put into our bids. So, you know, it's a little bit different there, but it worked. And to this day, it's another client I have now.
That's huge.
And we have that relationship, and it goes on and on. So
It's all in the relationship.
well, we're at a little past 8. I know we started late, but we're gonna have to sit down and do this again sometime.
Absolutely.
We'll touch base maybe at the end of the year. Or one of the cool things we have planned with the podcast coming up with the association and the industry. There's gonna be some stuff coming out we're gonna do.
That's awesome.
2 questions for you.
Uh-oh.
This is the good ones.
Uh-oh.
So you gotta be ready now.
Oh, man.
If you could leave your children with one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Whew. I'm going to go super cliche, and I think it's super important. They follow their dreams. Follow their dreams. Go after what they believe is their dream career, because if they love what they do, they'll never go to work.
Awesome. Great. Cliche is good sometimes because it's still true.
It is true.
Now's the fun one.
So
it's called Common Sense.
Okay.
We have a segment we like to call Give Us Your 2 cents.
Okay.
It could be your 2 cents about literally anything. It could be something you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to talk about that I didn't ask you. It could be your 2 cents of advice. It could be your 2 cents of advice for multifamily.
Ooh.
It could be Brandon wants to talk about how he thinks the earth is flat. I mean, it doesn't matter. Or that you believe in Sasquatch, or you saw a UFO one time and we didn't get to talk about that crazy adventure. I mean, I don't know. It's your 2 cents. It can be anything.
Listen, aliens are real. Yeah, I mean, if we're just gonna throw that out there.
Okay.
But my 2 cents in general.
We're definitely diving into that deeper next time because I want to know way more about
We're going to
this.
dive into quantum physics and quantum reality and aliens. Yeah, I'm in it. Yeah.
Multiverses and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And if
Go
anybody,
from multifamily to multiverses.
for purpose of
That's
conversations,
the title for the next one.
yeah, and for purposes of conversation at the lounge, I've recently learned that there are some flat earthers here. If anybody can explain to
Don't
me
start that one.
how, if the earth is flat, how the sun and moon rise, and if we're like really down here on the bottom and it's all flat, how it can come under us, and it just, or is it just yo-yoing?
No,
and then
it spins.
how do you spin if you're flat? It just spins.
It spins above us. in a
Okay,
pendulum. So that's what flat
but
earthers
it goes
believe.
like this. It doesn't go.
They believe
in
it's
flat
a
Earth
disc.
world.
It's a disc.
Okay.
So they believe it's flat, and they believe the sun and the moon spin this way above us. And so the moon
But then
is.
how would it go east and west like it does?
Well,
Does that exist in flat world theory? I'm just
it's-
curious.
It's still going east and west because if you are, let's say here, it comes around, and so it goes
But how does
east
it
to
ever
west.
set?
Well, because it's
And
on the
rise?
other side of the flat of the disc.
Okay.
It's far
I'm
enough
not really
away.
following that. Maybe we would need globes and things like that.
To the next one.
Listen, that's
Bring a
what they
whiteboard with
believe.
you. Bring a
Well, yeah,
whiteboard
we'll
and
dive into that deep next time. But like, I also want to know, how do the fucking tides work if we're flat?
They believe that there's a wall of ice around the entire world that keeps the.
So you know a lot about this.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna have to really. All right, next
Only
time.
wall
We'll
of
dive-
ice I know is on Game of Thrones. Not Game of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
That was anyway. Okay.
Winter is
leave that
coming,
for-
right?
We'll go back to your 2 cents. Sorry. I wanted to go down a rabbit hole since Ryan wasn't here to go down a rabbit hole. When he gets off his PEDs and, isn't trying to be Conor McGregor 2.0, we'll have Ryan back on and do this. But yeah, go for it.
I'll actually stay within the multifamily space.
Okay.
And I would say the easiest 2 cents, and we've already been talking about it, is definitely join the associations and be active. You've already said that. But with that, you're going to get what you give. And so there's a lot to do in the associations. And there's a lot that you can really reward yourself because there's a lot of charities that are tied to associations. Yeah. And so I've got a huge passion towards like Toys for Tots, which is the Marines.
Toys for Tots, awesome.
Then you got this weekend is the UGM bowling tournament.
Bowling tournament this weekend for the
Union Gospel Mission.
FWAA now? I mean, what's
I have
the
no
new?
idea.
Yeah, we're going to butcher this. It's something FAA or FWAA.
Yeah, Fort Worth Apartment Association, maybe.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going to give it that.
All right, we'll go with that.
And then, our company has its own charity as well that we do a golf tournament for. So
Jonathan's Place?
I would just say you get a lot more out of things that you actively go after, especially in regards to charities and especially in regards to the apartment association.
Well, dude, thank you for joining us today. It's been a pleasure. Glad we get to sit down and do this. I got 2 quick announcements before we wrap this up. So those of you still on here, one of these I talked about a little bit last week. The other one is next week, y'all asked for more multifamily people. So I finally got it lined up. The great Bob Duff is coming on here to give us his knowledge and to drop knowledge on all of us.
Oh,
and
man.
Bob Duff, for those of you who don't know, kind of a legend in the industry. Yeah. Some call him the mayor of multifamily. I mean, he's got all his nicknames and stuff, but tune in next week. We're going to have another great multifamily show because you guys are asking for it. You want me to do more of this, so I'm going to try and give you more of it this year. Secondly, this is super important and a passionate project of mine. As I mentioned last week, my good friend Naz is battling stage 4 cancer. I made the event post today. It's out there. I hope you guys will link in. If you can't attend the event and would like to donate, a couple different ways. The Venmo for his wife is attached. where we're going to have everything go to. The event is posted. It's going to be at Will Call Bar on March 30th. We're going to have bands, drinks, food, silent auction. You can come to this free of charge. We're going to have stuff. We'll have the Venmo posted. Donate whatever you can. Treat it like you're going to see these bands and you're going to pay the cover charge. Whatever you're able to donate as a cover charge, donate it. I mean, come see these bands for $2 if you want. Whatever. It all helps Naz to be able to take care of and provide for his family when he can't work, when he's sick from the treatments, you know, whatnot. Like, we're just trying to help him out while he fights this good fight and tries to kill cancer. So we've got the great Paco Estrada closing the show. I hope to have my boy Howard confirmed here shortly so we can bring back some old school acoustic stuff too. We've got Dream Fever playing early on. We've got some other stuff I'm going to announce later on. But even if you can't be there, you can still donate if you'd like to. Go to the event page. It's all over my Facebook, Instagram, whatnot. It's Naz Thomas. You guys can donate any way you want. If you have something cool, if you own a business, if you have memorabilia or gift cards, or you have season tickets to XYZ, whatever, any of these donations you guys can provide for the silent auction helps tremendously. Last time, I want to say, like, I did this, 50% of the funds we raised were off of the silent auction donations. So awesome. Anything you guys can do to help out with this, please do. I'm asking personally, favor to me. We're going to keep talking about it on the show all the way up to the event, but starting at 2 o'clock, Will Call opens at noon on Saturday. Starting at 2 o'clock, I'll be there setting up. First band's going to go on around 4 o'clock. Last band will go on, well, Paco will go on around 9, maybe a little earlier. We'll see what we can squeeze out of him. But Paco is the lead guy at South FM, very famous songwriter for multiple bands here in DFW. If you don't know Paco, look him up. He's phenomenal. We'll get him to play some of the classics and have a good time. But then from 10:30 to close, they'll have their normal house resident DJ there playing. So come join us. Food, drinks. JR, the owner of Will Carl, is even going to make a donation based off of the food and drinks purchased throughout the event. So that's awesome. Great event we have coming up, and let's help my buddy Naz out. So all of you, thank you so much for joining us, watching us tonight. Hope you'll join us again next week. Be safe out there. Peace.